Welcome to The Playful Domme, The Poly Wife, and The Virgin podcast, where we share our most intimate stories, experiences, and details of our love lives, our intimacy lives, our play lives, and giving you the opportunity to gaze in and get a glimpse of what could be possible in your life as well. As we share our stories, our adventures, we weave in tips, tricks, and techniques to help build your confidence, boost your courage, and give you the opportunity to ask for what you want in your life. Welcome to the podcast. Oh, and just a couple of quick thoughts before we get started. One, we are just everyday people. We are not professionals, licensed therapists, anything like that. This is for edutainment purposes only. This is not medical advice or legal advice, financial advice, nothing like that. Listen at your own discretion. And this is for mature audiences. We're going into deep subjects and sharing deeply about intimacy and all the things about that. So just notice who you're around and let's go.
Morning, Lisa.
Here we go. So good to see you both.
Yay. Yeah, I don't
you
like
guys
missing
too.
a week.
I don't either.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we won't do that again. Now we know.
Yeah, now we know.
So Lisa, I know last week you had mentioned that there was a topic you had about Metamours that you wanted to share about. Wasn't that?
Yeah. So
the woman not being happy or something like that?
Yeah, no, it was
Hey, Lisa, before you get started, can you refresh us again? What is a metamour?
so a metamour is I have a partner. So my metamour is his partner, his other partner. So any of his other partners would be considered my metamours. So when I met my long-term relationship, he had a wife and a girlfriend. And so both of those women are my metamours. He is my husband's metamour.
Okay.
So, and you don't have to have a relationship with your metamour. You don't have to have a relationship with your metamour. I don't have any kind of a contact or a relationship at all with, I have to come up with names for each of the men that I'm talking about because we have to be able to consistently identify them. Right now, he's my playwright.
Okay, we know him. Yeah, we know who he is. Okay.
You know who he is. Okay, so I have no relationship with his wife. And he's the one who sort of introduced me to the concept of handle your feelings. So she had difficulty with me because we had a strong connection right away. And he was coming back down and she just aired with him that she had a problem with him seeing me. And he was like, well, you got to handle that because I am seeing her. And it feels like it's a cruel way of handling it. But I'm reading More Than Two. And it's it's like the Bible of polyamory. It's one of the books that everybody refers to. And there will definitely be a link wherever we're able to put one. But, one of the things it says is that the way we operate ethically in relationships is that each relationship has importance and no person gets to be treated like a thing just because they might be second, like not like you would think that in a monogamous relationship, that's my primary partner and then everybody else is secondary. Yeah. When you're acting ethically, so my husband can't say, I don't want you going out with, so-and-so tonight because I don't like him. He doesn't get to have a say. We have our boundaries and we have to decide what we're doing. So the metamour thing is about the relationships impinging on other relationships. So that was what I was referencing. And handling your feelings is the response because this relationship exists. So you've got to learn how you're going to live with that relationship happening. Because whoever the I is acting within the rules and the boundaries that we set to be able to be polyamorous. Right. So if I'm saying with my husband, I want to know, at least I want 24 hours notice of you going out with somebody else. You must use condoms no matter what their STD panel looks like, because I don't want penis to vaginal contact with anybody but me. So that might be a rule that I place. He has to agree to that rule. And we're not talking about the ethics of the rule, but simply that it is a rule. Or it might just be, hey, do what you want, just make sure that you're safe. Could be as simple as that. But if I'm experiencing jealousy, then I've got to handle those feelings of jealousy, because those are my feelings. He's not doing anything that's outside of the rule of just be safe. Right. Like one of my Metamours, her rule, my long-term relationship is whatever your girlfriend gets, I get as well. So if you're going to go off and
interesting,
hotel, then I want a night in a hotel as well. She's not impinging at all on what my relationship is with him or how we manage our relationship. But like, for instance, he and I went away for a couple of nights, and then she and my husband joined us for the next 2 nights.
Okay.
Because what she gets, I get, right? So we didn't allow for that, but we put that into our vacation plans, is that he and I would get a couple of nights alone. And then she would also be able to be a part of what it was that we were exploring or doing or whatever.
Wow. So yeah, I would never even think that would be an option, but that's oftentimes where the jealousy, I think, arises, is that, the other person is getting more attention. But if you set rules like that, if you do that, then I can do that, or I get to do that with you. I think that's
right.
pretty
So here's what happened in my relationship. I have a brand new guy that I'm seeing.
Okay.
I'm filling in for the nights when he can't be with his girlfriend, because she will be with her husband. And we had lunch, and then we had our first date, which was 6 or 7 hours. And then I did my next date 4 days later, was an overnight.
Okay.
So in the span of a week, I had lunch, a long date, and then an overnight, which might be considered fast. I mean, I've spent overnight in the first couple of dates with actually quite a few men, because we talk so clearly.
That's right.
You I'm laying down the law. We both are, right?
Yeah.
So
the long interview process.
She had a twinge about that, and so she just wanted to meet me and sort of like feel my energy and just, get a sense of me before we continued. And I have what I've learned in this last couple of weeks is I was in our first foray into polyamory. I was the wife, but the new girlfriend energy took over, and I disappeared from the relationship, right? It's kind of as though there was just so much energy placed on what was going on in their relationship and what her demands were, that I got kind of lost in the shuffle. And so I have a level of sensitivity towards a woman who might be feeling like, oh my, I just need a moment. And so I was like, okay, sure, let's have lunch or something. I was going away for a week. I was in Salt Lake. And then when I came back, I had something come up and we weren't able to have lunch. But her rule was, what she said was, we couldn't see each other until she and I were able to have lunch.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we ended up going out as a foursome, my husband and I and the two of them, to go to a comedy club, because we just wanted to all kind of get together and meet. And we're all foodies. We're going out. The 4 of us are going out on a date on Thursday. He and I haven't seen each other since that first time 3 weeks ago. And it's because she and I haven't had, I was away for a week, and now these 2 weeks we haven't had lunch yet. So
I'm so curious. Like, I want to hear more, and I'm also like, I want to make sure we go back to handling the feelings, because that's like a really important piece.
Well, I will get to that, because this has really been a fantastic opportunity for the two of them to talk about what's going on in their relationship. Why is it that this is coming up for her? It's not, according to more than two, this is not ethical behavior, because she's impacting my ability to, she's blocking us from seeing each other until she gives her approval, until she feels better about me or whatever. I haven't done anything other than follow the rules that I was told, which is I can see you on Mondays and Fridays, and that's it, within their relationship. So what's going on and her needing to see me, actually, I have come to know has actually nothing to do with me, and everything to do with how he is relating to her in their relationship and how she's feeling inside of their relationship. Because I'm no threat. That's why he likes me so much, is because instantly he knows I only want to see him the 2 days. I'm not more demanding than he wants to be. We're compatible intellectually and physically. So why not just move forward? However, there's a twist now, because when we went out to the comedy club, Ev and I are kinksters, right? So we do kinky things with our friends, right? So our play is never really ever involving sex. It's about you playing with toys and electricity and wax and, you know, that kind of fun thing. These two are swingers, so they go to parties and meet other people and have sex. Completely different kind of play, swingers and kinksters. And so it's really interesting to foray into this world of swingers, because she found herself attracted. She and Ev had a connection. And so now, because they like to swap, and Bill and I already like each other, it's possible that there's a connection between her and my husband. And both my husband and I are like, oh, well, that's kind of fun. That might be interesting, because he doesn't want to be in a polyamorous relationship. He really only wants to swing and swap and not have necessarily a relationship with people. And she's a perfect match for him, because she's not looking for anything other than somebody to play with. She's also not looking for a relationship. She's got two. So, I've had this shift in my feeling, because I'm kind of resentful that I have to sort of pass a test in order to have a relationship with a guy. Because one of the things that she had said is, I really want you to be a part of our lives and a part of, as well as a part of his life. And I'm like, I just wanted to have sex twice a week. I didn't want to add friends, right? I had a specific idea of what this relationship was supposed to be. And now it turns out that the four of us may hang out as couples and play or not play. And I've been able to completely turn my head around this lunch and be excited about it, because we've got an opportunity to kind of talk, and we have a little kind of sisterhood in terms of managing a swap swinging situation versus me negotiating being able to sleep with her boyfriend. So it's been a huge shift in a week from, and they're also reading more than two. So all four of us are now reading this book, and now we can discuss it and see what it is that comes up. But in reading the book, I realized that I have made many more allowances for my Metamours than I am ethically bound to do, because they're interfering in my relationships, and they don't have a right to interfere with my relationships. They have a right to say you cannot be polyamorous and you cannot have other relationships. But once we have those other relationships, then it's about us handling our feelings about what's going on in that relationship and managing the relationship that is causing those feelings.
That was that was a huge story. There's a lot.
I'm sorry.
And no, don't be sorry.
Yeah, it was a lot to unpack for it's and most of this learning has happened in the last probably 48 hours. So I'm still new, but I'm kind of excited about it. Yeah. It helps to talk to other people, and it helps to have mentors in this when you're doing this. Jess and I had talked about being Sherpas in this. That was the whole reason we're kind of doing the podcast, is so that we can share and learn what it is that we're doing ourselves. And so I've been talking to a friend of mine, and we had a girls' weekend this weekend, so we got a lot of time to chat. And it's been eye-opening because she's been poly for a lot longer than I have. And, she's had all kinds of interactions with partners and that sort of thing. And I think it's fantastic. So she agrees with the whole handling your feelings. I think that's not a new concept for experienced people. But I think that in a monogamous relationship, we often look to our partners to be our comfort, our cheerleader, our misery loves company person. It's like, if I'm going to be depressed, can you just comfort me or cuddle me or help me not feel this way anymore? And I think probably the thing that has been most eye-opening for me is how responsible I am for my own emotions, and making sure that I'm comforting myself and cheerleading myself. So I think I've done a lot better at learning how to handle my feelings by learning how to have to handle my feelings with another person. Does that answer your question?
Well,
Get back to what you wanted to ask.
Well, it's interesting, back to the monogamy thing, and I think part of the evolution of relationships is learn to be responsible for how we feel and not projecting it and putting it on the on our partner. Mm-hmm. To like, you made me feel this way, or how dare you, and don't you know that this irritates, like all these things. And I've totally been there and done that. And so to being in a space, like, I'm very grateful for the partner that I have right now, because even though we're walking in uncharted territory, and as I do the work that I do, and that's a new foray for him, whatever comes up, like, he's doing his own work. He's not mm-hmm. telling me like, I don't feel comfortable or this bothers me. He's just like, I know that this is my shit to work through and be with. And nothing's to a point that, is a deal breaker for him. It's new things. And so he does this practice where he's simulating all these different scenarios of what could possibly happen. And he sits with himself and he processes it so that it may not ever happen, but should it happen, he's already been through the emotions. And he talked about, his father said once that, like, if you get to a level of divorce with your spouse, it's because there was something that happened that you weren't prepared for. Mm-hmm. There's something you hadn't prepared for. If you had looked at the scene in the scenario and you had simulated and you've gone through, okay, if this situation happens, what do we do? It's kind of like when we talk about, like, if our house is on fire, where's the nearest exit? What do we grab? Like, not to say like you're expecting that, but you're prepared for it. And so, one of the things that my partner and I go over is, like, he said it right from the get-go. It's like, I want to pull up every kind of case scenario that could possibly happen in a situation that could be a deal breaker, that could create this huge catastrophe. And like, let's talk through it. What would we do? What would we do in this situation if X happened or Y happened or, whatever. And I really appreciate that. And then there's like still unexpected things. And then it's like, okay, here's the unexpected thing. What do we do? How do we walk through this? What is the conversation piece? So I wanted to say that. And Al, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to ask, reflect, contribute.
Right now I'm just listening. I think what Lisa said was exactly right on, is, being able to manage our own feelings. And while you stepped away quickly, oftentimes, I think in a polyamorous, relationship, as the main partner, I think you're worried about your partner, spending more time with the new person. And I loved what the one girlfriend was saying, is like, look, just whatever you do with him, do with me, or do with her, do with me. And I think that's super powerful, super powerful. So you're not left behind, because I think that's the fear, right? Is being left behind, not being enough, I believe.
Well, and see, here's the thing. That's your responsibility. If
Yeah,
you're
that's
not
right.
feeling like you're enough, that's on you. I mean,
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend Molly, and she was saying, you know, she and her boyfriend were at a party, and she was playing with other people and he was playing with other people. And she went over and she was like, "Hey, Poppy, how are you doing?" And he goes, she wasn't asking him, "Are you jealous or something?" But his reaction was, "I don't care what you do. I know you're coming home with me." You know, the confidence that he has in their relationship is what gives both of them the freedom to really explore and play and have fun, because they know that they're coming back to their relationship. And I do want to say that I have come to also believe that what's going on here I'm laying some blame, though I don't like to use the word blame. I'm laying some blame on the men in these relationships, because it is not up to the two of us, Metamours, to figure this out. It's up to him to make sure that both relationships that he's in are getting out of it what they need. So
Big job.
I'm really applauding the work that the two of them are doing, the work that my husband and I did, and the work that my long-term boyfriend and his wife are doing. And now that I have this insight, it helps me tell her what happened last year, because I innately knew that what she was doing wasn't okay, but I didn't have the words to explain it. I didn't have the reason to believe that I was right. And I didn't want to stir the pot. But I made a note earlier in that when I was talking to Molly, I said that, you know, I have something, all my men have something in common. Could be that they all drive Jeeps, or they all like dogs, or they play music out, or whatever it is. Weirdly, every man I'm with has some weird thing in common with my husband. And I was saying this, I was like,
Wow.
in all three of these cases, all three of these men didn't take a stand for me.
Oh.
My husband didn't take a stand with his girlfriend when she was saying, "Leave her and come with me." My long-term relationship didn't take a stand for me and our relationship when he said, "Hey, look, we need some time by ourselves. I'm going to just take Lisa out on a date. And just take a stand for being able to spend time with me." And then this new guy is allowing the two of us to work this out, instead of saying, "Look, whatever," jealousy is a secondary emotion.
Yeah, right.
It's based from fear, or
Yeah,
fear of
anger.
abandonment, or whatever, not spending enough time. So it's actually his job to be 100% clear with her about what needs she has to have fulfilled, because it isn't me physically, it's the idea of me. If he had
that's right.
spent
That's
any
right.
time with Jess, if he had spent 7 hours with Jess and an overnight with Jess, it would be about Jess, not about me, right? So it isn't actually about me, it's about their relationship. And so the fact that they all three have these things in common. But one of the things he did do is he did say to her, because he and I were talking about how this feels like it's a vetoed lunch, right? If she doesn't like me, and she can pull a veto, right?
Yeah, right.
So vetoes are 100% unethical. And she is not viewing this at all as a veto. But he got to point out to her that because she's not allowing us to see each other until the lunch, it is actually a veto. And so I appreciate that he absorbed that from the book, and we had talked about it, and he brought it up to her. So he is addressing. So everybody's doing their work now, which is wonderful. But now I'm more hyper aware and willing to point it out to them, because this really is about having such deep and connected relationships. So it's been a fantastic learning week for me. It's great. And also, how is it that I'm showing up? How is it that I'm showing up as a threat? I'm not lying. This isn't the first guy who's told me he loved me the first or second date being with me. It happens a lot, and not a lot like every guy, but with the guys with whom I have a connection, I'm picking really good guys. I'm picking.
Well, your
men who are
interview
willing
process is very stringent, so to speak.
Yeah. So there's a connection, and it's deep and it's hard because I'm clear. I feel, I know what I want. I'm clear about what I want. I say what it is that I want. And I'm not sure that people, not even these men, are used to that. Are having those conversations. So that's my news. What's your news? What are you and the boyfriend doing?
Well, hold on. I
Yeah.
before we switch that, there's a couple of pieces that I'm really curious about. Those of you who are listening, oftentimes when I finish eating, I get congested and start sneezing.
So does Ev.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the piece where you were saying that the most like the men in your life haven't taken a stand for you, and I'm curious about, where do you feel in your life you haven't taken a stand for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm like sitting with, is taking a stand the same, different than being defensive? Because I know when I, like in my first understanding of you years ago, there was a defensiveness in your personality.
Mm-hmm.
That experience, like so night and day from where you are now. Absolutely. And I'm curious about, I guess there's a couple questions. One is, where do you feel in you maybe you're not taking a stand for yourself? And then the other is, has this exploration in polyamory and kink, has it helped in like almost de-armoring that defensiveness that you had initially? Because it's not there anymore. It's gone. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't experience it at all. And I'm curious what may have helped shift in that, if it was either of those things.
It's a great question, Jess.
So I would say turning 50 did it, but I met you when I was 55. So it was definitely moving into polyamory, because I think I explained that my husband's first girlfriend lived with us, and I came home. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, because we don't have a lot of time, but she said to me one day that she had a problem with my energy, basically. And it was an incredibly difficult thing for her to say to me, but she loved me enough to tell me, to give me that feedback so that I could shift it. And I was kind of like, I don't fucking, whatever. Yeah, I'm a big person, but I'm not going to make myself small for you. Right. I listened, and I loved her. So I really took it to heart. And then about an hour later, while we were still chatting, I got a call from my boss, and I was like, okay, when am I coming back to work? When am I going back to work? And he was like, yeah, nobody wants to work with you because your energy really. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Same day.
So Jess was right.
It was pivotal for me. It was just the universe saying, pay attention to it. And if either one had been the sole person, I would have said, yeah, bullshit. I would have just called bullshit on it. But it was two people from two completely different parts of my life. And so it made me stop and pay attention. And so I really started to have to look at how it was that I was showing up in a way that people didn't want to work with me or live with me.
I can't even imagine that, because as I see you today, I mean, you're one of the most warm, accepting, loving women to me. And again, for everybody who's listening, I've just met Lisa. I've known her probably for 6 months, but we've spoke, I mean, whatever, a few dozen times. Yeah, we're a new relationship. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So I was a very controlling, very insecure person, always feeling like I needed to prove myself. Like, I'm a smart woman. I'm a freaking genius. I'm a savant, right? So I may not have great interpersonal skills in the sense that I may be very direct and very abrupt and very intuitive. Like, I'm willing to tell you things you don't want to hear or process. And I'm willing to say the things I'm absolutely willing to ask the questions everybody's afraid to ask. Like in a group setting, like when we were at work, people would say, we would all gruss that, management didn't understand this or couldn't, didn't pay attention to that. And I would like put my hand up in a meeting and represent, right? I would say it out loud, or I'd ask the question or say that isn't fair, or ask, even in a class, if I was learning something, even if I understood what I was learning, I would ask the questions because I would hear from other people, I don't understand this, do you understand? And they're too afraid to ask, so I would ask it. So I never minded looking like a fool, but it made me brash, aggressive, and like I had to prove that I knew it all, because generally I have really good ideas and people ignore me. I would say that has been the thing that my demon, my dark side that I have fought all my life, is that I never felt heard. Right. Mm-hmm. So how do I not take a stand for myself? I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. So, oh, he didn't pay me. It's because he's busy, and he'll pay. I trust him. He'll pay me when he wants to pay me. But after a while, I have to take a stand for myself. So I'm actually about to engage a lawyer to take a stand for something that is against somebody who has wronged me. And I want to work it out. I really want to do it on a personal level. I want to be the nice girl. I want people to like me. I'm throwing out that bullshit. I don't need anybody to like me. The people who are the right people for me, like me. They can see me. Jess is nice enough to have been able to give me a second chance. Part of my transformation was when she was living with me. I learned a lot from her that helped me sort of settle in and calm down and not feel like I have to prove myself, to sort of tap into, like, watching her dom is like it's fantastic. Her confidence just builds. And so I channel her when I'm feeling insecure or unsure. But what it's done is it's also given me the opportunity to look for the power in everybody and not tap into their power, but sort of eke it out, because we're stronger together, I think.
Wow. 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 Again, I had no idea, right? No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa's one of my favorite people. And, she's one of the angels in my life when I needed a safe space to get messy when I first started the Dom path. And I didn't know where to go. And she opened her home to me. So, in these paths that we explore in these different realms and worlds, particularly sexuality, because I consider it a dark path. Dark, not meaning like scary. I mean, it is in a way. It's just like, it's not lit. It's mysterious. It's unknown. And, a lot of it. And so I'm grateful for the communities. But I know for myself, I started out on my path by myself in that dark, just kind of feeling around. And then there were angels who came in to support me. And I've also lived with Elle the Virgin. So this is something we all share together. I've lived with each of you, like, during really important times of my life. And Elle, my mom left when I was 15. And so I got to experience living in a house. I was the same age as my mother when she left my family. And so I was the same age as my mother, living in the house of Elle with her kids who were the same age as me when my mom left. So getting to have that experience of that. So, about these paths and these opportunities we have to connect with people, there's so much healing that can happen and transformation. And it was super healing for me to live with Elle and see how she showed up for her kids and for her life and her career and her passions and, all that. And like the gung-ho-ness that she has is like truly like always such energizing breath of fresh air, get it done, kind of thing. And it's, just awesome to be around. And Lisa is just like seeing her like unfold and blossom and like, you know, having all these boyfriends, a stable of men, and it's just, you know, she gets her freak on anytime she wants. She's got men on call. Like, who's got that? Who's got this? Like, you know, I'm feeling a little frisky. Who can I call to fulfill this right now?
Yeah.
I have a vibrator, but you know, maybe one of these other guys can fulfill it.
Look at
So
my
it's
little
just
pink book.
yeah, her little
Pink
pink book
book.
that she can go through, you know, and this is a process, you know, like Lisa's just made tremendous transformation. And I saw a blip on Facebook the other day, a little pop up, and it was basically like, when you're in a polyamorous relationship, you should definitely have a third party neutral coach to talk to, because there's so much that comes up, and projections can be super easy to put on other people, and you know, and all the feelings of insecurity, the jealousy, the uncertainty, like all the things that come up. And so to have people like Lisa, the poly wife, to be there to, hey, I get it, I get it, I've been where you are, I know what you're going through, here's what helped, I'm here as a safe space for you. Because the other thing is that it can feel quite isolating. Like the partner that I'm with, he has another woman as well, and he's told us both, I mean, we didn't come into it as like a poly situation. Us girls both came in thinking we were the one, you know, one and only for him. And so he was like, this wasn't expected, I love you both, figure it out. Like, you're not, like, if you decide to leave, it's going to be because you decide to leave. I'm not kicking anyone out. You need to like each other and figure it out. And so it was like, we were both kind of like, you know, a little bit pouty, and we go through our own storm. And then when we see each other in person, we'd be cool, but then we separate and we'd be stormy about each other. And, you know, and it's a bit of a process to move through. And luckily we've done, and he doesn't know anything about poly. He hasn't read any books. He hasn't done any of this stuff. This is just like the organic thing that's happening. And it's a really interesting piece to be with and just, you know, and process. But luckily we've all done a ton of inner conscious work, a ton of shadow work, that we can, you know, really move through this. But most people, if they're entering into this, and oftentimes one partner is interested in open relationship and the other partner isn't, you know, so there's that kind of like navigation. So just kind of bringing it back to, like, you know, I think Lisa is a fantastic coach and
Absolutely.
listener and counselor and mentor. And I know that she has so much to offer, and so much of it is in the embodied experience of it, which is way different, I think, than someone who studied it. You can read all the fucking books that you want. You can watch every video that there is, but until you've lived it, like when you've lived it, then it has a completely different cadence and depth. So, yeah.
I do thank you for that, but I do want to honor the fact that that storm that you were in was caused by him. He wasn't upfront when you started talking about a relationship that he was in another relationship, did he?
He was on the verge of, like, when he met me, he's like, and things, they weren't really sure what they were doing. So
you knew
that was like kind of on the outs, and then like I show up and it's like, oh, I'm the thing. So he told me, like, this is it, he's going to let go of this other person. And so then when he went to have that conversation, she like leveled up, like she like took a different stand, and he was like, oh, she actually is a player in this game. Like, she's not, you know, she stepped up. And so then he's like, oh, so then he had new information and he made a new decision. And I was like, okay. And there's still, like, honestly, there's still in me, I'm like, I still need to be on top. I still need to be that hierarchical. I was like, I don't care. You know what? In every poly relationship, there is still a primary partner, or in many, there's a primary partner. And I want to be the primary partner. I want to be the top dog, period. I didn't wait this long. I didn't do all this fucking work to be second fiddle, period. And I was like, and you need to figure that out, because I'm here to co-create worlds with you. And, you know, you get to decide how that looks and how that feels, but I'm not doing that. So
how does that look for you?
For me is that what we create, we're creating together.
No, absolutely. But what does that mean? That you have to be nesting partners? Does it mean that you have to share finances? Does it mean that he has to spend the majority of time with you? I think that in order for him to figure it out, you've got to know what your boundaries are. You've got to, and I can speak to this because I have a primary partner, and we are currently platonic in our relationship. He's my ride or die, but I'm married to him, but honestly, if I had 5 men in front of me, I know that I love them all. Well, not maybe 5. 3 men in front of me, I love them all equally, right? I don't want to choose one. I don't want to live with anybody but my husband. I'm really clear that if I was no longer living with him, I would rather live by myself than live with any of these other men. Wow. That I'm currently involved with, right? So and if I want to have an in-depth conversation, I want to talk to my author, right? I'm gonna, because he and I have a sapiosexual relationship. We're also platonic, not quite complete. We're not completely platonic, but we're seeing that we're mostly platonic, but we really love spending time together. So I'm spending time with him. I don't love him because the relationship is new, but his value in my life is as great as the value I have for my husband. So for me, I've recognized that I thought that I needed to be a primary partner, but I think that I'm shifting to a non-hierarchical model. And so I'm asking what it is that you need to feel at the top of that hierarchy, because in order for him, you have to know that when he comes up with his decision, that it either meets your criteria or it doesn't. If you're waiting for him to figure out how he wants to make you the primary, then you may be giving away a little bit of your own power.
Thank you. Yeah, when I was with him, it got pretty clear that that I'm here to build with him, and the other partner wants to come along for the ride. She wants to come in and like kind of show up in the moment and do her thing, and she's beautiful, and but in terms of like the grunt, hustle, build, foundation, creation, that's not appealing. And so to me, I'm like, she gets a say, but she doesn't get a vote. Like we're building, we're creating like this thing. Like I want top priority and focus and attention in conversation. Like there were multiple times where we had an entire day spent around her and her feelings and what she's going through. And I was like, my bandwidth is very small with this, when we have days or hours wrapped around her process and her emotions and what she's going through and like all this stuff. And I'm like, no. And so it's like, to me, it's like, are we here to build, or are we here to work on this human, which I know is important, right? But like, there's still a prioritization of time and of energy and resources. So I think for me, it was just like, there's so many, and this is like a whole other conversation, because there's so many intricacies and deeper layers that are intermingled in it. And I think she's fantastic. And when it's just the two of us, we're like phenomenal connection. I think she's incredible. She thinks like I walk on water, like, so we have a very, very good connection. But then it's the challenging piece is him and how we navigate both as women and then also as a team, because then when it's both of us together, we have like very strong pulls, and then we're able to I feel we're very powerful together in relationship with him and determining what we want, because ultimately I want everyone to win. That's one of my big intentions. But yeah, it's like I came into this world to do some big things, and and here we go. So anyways, it's a great question. I'll definitely like sit on it about more what the practicality or like the tangible pieces of what that looks like in terms of boundaries and everything. I just recognize that my days, especially when I was with him, were becoming consumed with whatever was going on with her, and that was not okay for me.
Well, and that's perfectly fine, you know, but because I don't know you as wanting to have been, I remember talking to you about being poly, and you weren't that interested in a polyamorous relationship. Now, it doesn't mean that when you meet a person who is polyamorous that you don't want to adapt to it, but yeah, you should not be responsible for handling her problems, but you've got to pay attention to whether or not you're willing to give him the space to manage that relationship. And I just would caution you to recognize what's okay to ask for in a monogamous relationship versus a polyamorous relationship, because it can be two different things. So, well, that's kind of our time, isn't it? We wanted to keep this one short, I think.
Shorter. Elle, what's been your biggest takeaway?
From this chat, I think it's again, Lisa's always very good at this for me. And so again, she's like my life coach as well, is owning our own feelings. Obviously I know that, but just really, hearing it again, and just watching the dynamics, of multiple partners for me is really my biggest takeaway. So it goes back again to stating what you want and what you need. And I think that's been kind of for me, the running thread through all of our conversations. So I love it. I'm just listening. Again, I think it's great. So I learned something every single time. So I can hardly wait for some more stories. And Jess, I would love maybe the next time, maybe our listeners are at that point too. Let's talk about some massaging or something like that as well. So I'm ready for that stuff.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the stories. Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
The stories.
There's all these elements, right? About this sexual space and realm in our own personal development. But yeah, absolutely. Lisa, thank you for sharing so much about your life and your life experience and navigating and, where you arrive and shift and adapt as you just move through these different dynamics and pieces of yourself that you're recognizing more and more. It's really beautiful.
I think that we're only going to learn if we share this kind of stuff, right? It's like I'm kind of stumbling through it. And, my purpose is to empower others, share what I know, and lead by example. So I actually, one of the things that I told my meta today was that, the burden of polyamory is the work, but the joy is the results of what we get out of it. The relationships are deeper, they're more clear. We've got the opportunity to explore possibilities that we might not have otherwise been able to explore. So there's a burden and a joy. And every week, there's just some new joy that I'm totally thrilled about. So I'm happy to kind of share what I'm learning along the way. But we definitely, there's a lot that you've taught me that we should go into next week. Talk again about our times together and sort of visiting that dark side, because we have to do the work, right? And I think you're really good at helping us dig in and do that work.
Thank you. I do think that the deeper we go, the higher the joy we get to experience on the other side. And I think that if we're trying to stay within these certain very small parameter of emotion and what's okay, because what's uncomfortable actually, like as we expand more into our discomfort, there's actually so much more juiciness there. It's just we've been conditioned that this is bad and this is wrong, and so we become comfortably uncomfortable in this smaller space that we're in. And so as we're exploring into kinky, and I do want to also revert back when you said, Lisa, that kinky is not fundamentally sex. You know, like, it doesn't
Oh, yeah.
fundamentally apply that it's sex. And I think that there's a lot of people in their mind, that's what they think, that they think that kinky is sex. They think that BDSM is like hardcore fucked up sex, or, you know, something like that. And that's not the case. Like, it's so not that. It can be that, but it's not inherently that. And so I appreciated the contrast that you gave about the difference between kinky and swinger, and like,
Yeah,
in
for
those
sure.
like dynamics, because it's like, I think that I know, especially with conscious people, especially people in the spiritual communities, they are almost allergic to kinkiness or BDSM.
Oh, really?
Oh, so much. And I try to tell them like there's so much there, and it literally takes me like going into a temple space of conscious people and bringing down my floggers and then showing them how I do it my way, and then seeing how their faces light up and how things shift and change. And that's like a whole other conversation. But even like, we get, even in those, as open as we are, we still get constricted. We're still constricted in our level of consciousness and openness, and there is so much more. So yeah, definitely more stories to come. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. And I trust our listeners that I know that, what did you like about this episode? What turned you on about it? What's something that you want to know more about? We're here to answer for you too. Like, between the three of us, we have like endless stories, like so many stories and lessons and insights and wisdom and laughs. You know, it's just, again, like, this can be a joyride. So let's make it so. I love you, ladies. I'm so glad we did this.
Yep, me too. Love you.
Love you guys.
Have an awesome
See you
week.
next
We'll talk
week.
to you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
Right,
Bye.
bye.
Want more? Head over to theplayfulpodcast.com for all the juicy things we have to offer. From there, you can join our community, where you can get access to after hours, attend upcoming workshops and events, and even book a session. Bye for now.